Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of OTH Sports View. My name is JP Butler. I'm joined by my colleagues, Shawn Campbell and Sam Wilson. We made it back home safe and sound early this morning from Philadelphia from last night's St. Bonaventure men's basketball game. Tough loss for the Bonnies. We will get to that another day. Today, with the start of sectionals really getting going in earnest last night, we thought would be a good time to give you sort of an overlook going into the heart of sectional play for our boys and girls high school basketball teams in the area. And so we'll get right into it here. We've got a number of teams who, on both genders, who finished the regular season strong and positions themselves nicely within their respective brackets. A lot of teams that are pretty highly seeded on both sides. And so we'll get right into who we think sort of some of the favorites may be, beginning on the boys' side in Section 6. And Shawn, who do you see sort of setting up well as we go forward here over the next week or so?
Well, on the boys' side, I think obviously Olean High is one that everyone is talking about a lot. But other than Olean, I mean, you have your Franklinvilles and Alec-Bills. Both have some high hopes, I think. It's just, I mean, they're probably going to meet in the semifinals, and whoever comes out of that is going to have to probably give Panama a run for the title. And it's kind of just who can survive, get there and see what they can do. Right.
And I think with both teams, it'll be interesting there because neither saw Panama in the regular season, I don't think. And so it's going to be a new test for both of those teams. How about on the girls' side? We looked at it before we came in. A bunch of number 1 and number 2 seeds. Olean High girls are number 2 in Class B. Allegheny Limestone and number 1 in Class C. Portville number 1 in Class C. Wellsville number 1 in Section 5. What do you sort of see with those teams and who might be capable of making a run?
I think Allegheny Limestone and Wellsville are, I mean, huge favorites to probably win their sectional titles. I mean, Class C1, Allegheny Limestone, they've really rolled through the regular season and league play. They won their league games by close to 40 points. Frank Martin's done a nice job there. Right. They're the number 1 seed. I think they have pretty high hopes. They're actually up to number 3 in the state this week, which is pretty incredible. I mean, beat Fredonia twice in non-leaguers. Nice win.
So they sort of set themselves up with a tough schedule to prepare themselves for what they're about to see here.
Yeah, they have a nice win over Wellsville too, which probably expects to win the sectional title in Section 5. They're the number 1 seed as well. Right. They're the only team in their bracket with a winning record. So I mean, they're probably, they're the favorite by far.
Well, right. Sure. I want to go back to the Alec-Franklinville situation in both genders. And boys in Class D, obviously they've got to take care of their first round opponents, which it looks like, I know Ellicottville played Clymer in the regular season. They handled them pretty easily, and so maybe you expect that again. It sets up a potential second round matchup between the two teams and a rubber match. They obviously played twice in the regular season. Franklinville won the first one. Ellicottville won the second one in overtime to claim the league title. That's kind of an interesting storyline there, the fact that they might meet again in the playoffs here.
In high school basketball, you never want to presume that they're guaranteed to win, but it seems pretty likely that that's a matchup you'll see at JCC next week. And I think it's a really fascinating one between the two. Franklinville shoots really well. Ellicottville shoots pretty well themselves, and they have a really strong big man in Elliot Bowen, who's just a sophomore and playing really well with size and scoring touch. I covered the first meeting that Franklinville took at home. Shawn covered the next one, which Ellicottville pulled out in overtime, which actually gave them the division title and the 2 seed, which I guess gives them a little nicer matchup in the first round here. So I think you got to expect it's going to be a close game if and when they face off in JCC.
And it seems like what you just said there, what we saw in the regular season, that both teams certainly I think have just as good a chance as the other of winning that game and having a chance at Panama in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly that'll be a test in the finals. Panama is always strong in that bracket. But yeah, I think it's really even between the two.
Right. And we see sort of the same situation on the girls' side, and those were really both teams on both sides were two of our better teams all year long, I think. And on the girls' side, you've got a Franklinville team led by the Haskell sisters and all they've done this year, and Ellicottville with Marissa Hamilton. What did those two teams do in the regular season, and is it the same sort of thing where we may see another matchup between the two and two teams that both might have a chance to play for the championship?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance we see that happening, but it's just really like the boys. It's hard to tell what could happen there. I mean, Franklinville won the first two matchups. The girls actually played 3 times, so they could be playing a fourth time.
That's right.
Franklinville won the first 2. Then the last week of the regular season, Ellicottville beats Franklinville, but both Haskell sisters are kind of banged up in that game, so it's kind of hard to see what that really means. So, I mean, I think it really might come down to how healthy are the Haskell girls if they play.
Right. And just when we think that maybe, in the regular season that Franklinville becomes the team to beat on both sides, now all of a sudden both Ellicottville teams are playing better and put themselves
shaking some things up there.
Yeah, which is interesting because we may not have said that earlier in the season when the two Franklinville teams seemed to sort of take a stranglehold originally, but now it is sort of up for grabs between the two. So that sets up for a couple of interesting potential matchups in Class D. We'll come back around to the Olean High teams. The Olean boys now know that they will be hosting Depew tomorrow night. This is an Olean High team that went undefeated for just the second time in school history in the regular season at 20-0. They've already won 4 straight sectional titles. They'll begin the quest for a 5th tomorrow, and they're 9th overall, I think, in the last 10 years under Jeff Anastasia. What do you see with this team as they try to make that stuff a reality?
I think if you ask most people in Western New York who follow high school basketball closely, they'd pretty much say they're a lock for a title in B1.
Interesting.
It's hard. It's going to be hard for anyone to even touch them. Just looking at it, partially
how good they've been.
Yeah, partially because really the unknown in their bracket is Medina, the number 2 seed, but the 3 seed East Aurora, they beat them by 33 earlier in the season, and the 4 seed Dunkirk, which Olean could meet in the semis, they beat them twice handily in league play. So, I mean, they've already pretty much proven themselves against some of the best teams there.
Right.
I mean, Depew, they've had a history.
We know that there's a history there with the team they're going to be playing in the first round tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, Depew could give them a run, especially if maybe Olean comes out a little slow after a little bit of a break. But Depew's had some quality teams under Larry Jones in the past. Olean and Depew have met in the playoffs every other year, starting in 2010 in the B1 final, 2012 in the B1 final, 2014 in the B1 semifinals. Olean's won them all, but some of those were kind of some close games. I think Depew always gets up for Olean and gives them a nice run. So.
And I know, obviously it's 2 different teams this year. A lot of these kids, none of these kids are probably involved in a lot of these games that have taken place, but they know about it, and these kids within the program know, hey, this isn't a team we sort of allow ourselves maybe to lose to at this point, and so maybe they can carry that mindset into this game, but they're obviously still going to have to go out there and prove it. On the girls' side, they're number 2. They'll be playing Alden this weekend. The Olean girls' last sectional title in 2013. Will they be able to maybe make it another one this year, you think?
I think this team really wants to get on a nice run in the postseason. The last 2 years, they've really come up short and haven't really fallen in line with some of the Olean basketball tradition. Last year, they lost their first playoff game in the A2 quarterfinals. So I think they really want to get back to that final. And if they get there, there's probably a pretty good chance they're going to play the number 1 seed East Aurora, which, I mean, from everything I've heard, they're very talented, and I mean, it seems like they're probably the favorite and Olean would have to get past them to get to a
Right.
title. They've actually been 1 and 2 in the Western New York small school poll a good
Okay.
chunk of the
So
season.
that
too.
could be a very interesting
Yeah.
matchup down the road as well.
Yeah.
And we know that Olean, though, has a player who would maybe be capable of sort of getting them, to that point. And Sarah Pfeiffer, who, is obviously a very talented player and somebody who can get hot, that can maybe make them capable enough of beating a team like East Aurora.
Yeah, just kind of carry the team through the playoffs. I mean, that's what happens in this time of the year. Sometimes the best players, if they can play their best,
Right.
that can give teams a good chance to do something.
Right. Back around to the boys' side, we've got two teams in Class C and the two different C1 and C2 in Allegheny Limestone and Portville. This is two teams that finished the regular season under 500. I think Portville was 500. I think Portville was
1 game below.
one game below.
2 games below.
And you got an Allegheny Limestone team that sort of, was reeling towards the end of the season. I think they lost maybe 6 or 7 in a row to close the regular season. But last night, most of our teams are in action. Those two teams are in action. They both get wins to start sectional play. And now, they maybe get some confidence back a little bit. They get some wins under their belt. I know for Portville, it was over, familiar Salamanca team, and they handled them with relative ease. And so now you got two teams that maybe are starting to feel a little better here and can maybe try to do something, as they go forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think both teams, they come from that same CCAA East 1 division, and they're battle tested. They've both had a ton of close games all year, and I covered the last game of the regular season for Allegheny Limestone when they beat Salamanca, and then they do it again a week later last night. And their coach Glenn Anderson made a good point to me that yes, they had lost a significant number of games in a row, but they lost to Portville last week, and that was the first time they had lost to a team that also had a losing record. So they've been playing pretty good teams, and they've been playing close games, and they're a team that likes to shoot the ball. I think it'll be tough at a 1 seed in Cleveland Hill, but I think they might have a chance.
Right.
Portville, kind of the same deal with all the close games, all the overtimes they've had. They've certainly been through a lot of tests this year, so maybe they have a chance against a bigger seed.
I think just the one thing with them is that now obviously they're both going to be pretty higher seeded teams, and so now we'll see how that stacks up against good team. But as you said, they both played against that kind of competition in the regular season. Maybe that bodes well for them this weekend.
Yeah, playing a Silver Creek, a Randolph, a Gowanda, that's certainly good for you. Even if you lose by 15, or you lose by 10, you lose by 5. I think that's a very good division.
Right. And we'll close out here with this, with sectional play beginning. That also gets us close to the time in which we hold our all-star selection meeting, which we normally do right in this building here at the Times Herald. That'll be coming up shortly. We'll talk just a couple of names that might be in the picture for first team boys Big 30 and maybe player of the year consideration. Shawn, give us a couple names, and then we'll get a couple of names from Sam.
I think on the boys' side, in Allegheny County, you have two big scorers, 2 team leaders, in Liam Ebert at Wellsville and Carter Schneider at Genesee Valley. I mean, they're the top guys on those top teams that are really in the running for a sectional title.
Right.
Scoring a ton every game.
Right.
So they're 2 guys to watch. On the New York side, you have Tavian Kemp at Archbishop Walsh, who is really having a nice year and leading them, and really, I think, getting a lot of attention from other teams too. Right. And up in Buffalo. And then at Olean High, their 2 top scorers, Elijah Ramadan and Ben Ekstrom, both averaging around 15 a game.
Right. And we know Olean is a very well-balanced team, but those really are the 2 guys that sort of lead them.
Yeah, I'd say they're their top weapons.
And certainly we know what Tavian's done at Archbishop Walsh. They sort of have a trio of guys there that lead them, but Tavian's really, I think, sort of risen above this year a little bit. And he's got this Archbishop Walsh team in a position to maybe go into this Monsignor Martin tournament and do some damage in the Class B division. They're still potentially playing for a 1 seed, which we'll find out this weekend. Sam, maybe those are probably the most familiar names that
Right.
people know about, but maybe a couple of others that you have seen this year that might be worthy of just all-star consideration, whether it's first team or other.
Yeah, all-star, I would say Cole Davis from Allegheny Limestone for sure. Sean Harris from Portville, probably not a player of the year candidate, but I think he's also all-star consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody from, I know that Salamanca team sort of, they had a stronger start than finish.
It's kind of. I would say probably Tate Reynolds was their best player from start to finish. They had certainly a disappointing end of the season, second half. But I would probably single out Tate as their most consistent player.
And I know that I think the Elliott Bowen kid from Ellicottville has had a good
He's
year.
going to be in the
And from Franklinville, they're another team that's pretty well balanced, but
they've got a lot of guys who can shoot the ball.
they do. That Dawson Bilecki, Isaac Kopp,
Jordan
Milks. They've got a couple of guys that would probably be considered there. Erickson, he's probably the best player that we named last year. But that's where we're at heading into quarterfinals here this weekend in sectional play. A lot of Big 30 teams still live, a lot of Big 30 teams with an opportunity to really make a run and maybe bring home a sectional title. And we will be back probably next week to give you another update on where those teams stand. So thank you for watching.